I get it, you've probably been scrolling through a dozen gaming rigs, watching price tags jump from reasonable to whoa, that's a lot, and wondering if you should just stick with your current laptop or finally upgrade to a proper desktop. You've got a budget, you want smooth 144Hz gameplay, maybe a bit of streaming on the side, and you definitely don't want to end up with a machine that looks great on paper but turns out to be a headache in the real world. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through why the Lenovo Legion T5 with a Ryzen 9 7950X and RTX 3060 might be the sweet spot, or why it could feel like you're paying for power you'll never really tap. First off, the most obvious thing about this box is the CPU. The Ryzen 9 7950X is a 16-core, 32-thread monster that can sprint up to 5.7 GHz. In everyday terms, that means you'll shave seconds off those long load screens in open-world titles and you won't feel a hiccup when you pop open a massive mod pack in Skyrim or switch between a game and OBS for streaming. I ran a couple of sessions of Cyberpunk 2077 with the ray tracing settings cranked to medium-high. The frame rate stayed comfortably in the 6070 frames per second range, and the CPU never hit a thermal wall. That's the kind of day-to-day reliability you need if you're the type who leaves a stream on for a few hours while you grab snacks. Now, the graphics card is where the conversation gets interesting. The RTX 3060 12GB is solid for 1080p 1440p gaming, but it's not the kind of GPU that'll let you max out 4K with ultra settings in every new release. If you're planning to push 4K at 144Hz, you'll quickly find the card reaching its limits in titles like Red Dead Redemption 2 or the latest Battlefield. However, most gamers today sit comfortably at 1440p, and the 12GB VRAM gives you enough headroom for texture-heavy games and a little bit of future-proofing. In practice, I could run Assassin's Creed Valhalla at 1440p, ultra settings, and still hover around 70 frames per second. For a desktop at this price point, that's a realistic, usable sweet spot. Memory and storage are where the Legion T5 starts to feel like a ready-to-go system. 32GB of DDR5 at 4800 MHz means you'll never be swapping to the page file, even if you have a dozen Chrome tabs, Discord, and a game running simultaneously. The combination of a 1TB NVMe SSD and a 2TB HDD is a practical compromise. The SSD handles the OS, games, and any content creation work, loading everything in a flash. The HDD sits there for your media library, large project files, or older games you don't launch often. I've seen people buy a 2TB SSD alone and end up paying a premium, only to fill it up within months. This hybrid approach spreads the cost while still keeping your primary workload speedy. One of the hidden trade-offs is the lack of an optical drive. If you still keep a collection of physical game discs or use Blu-ray for media, you'll need an external USB drive. That's not a deal-breaker for most, but it's something you'll notice the first time you try to install a game from a disc. Also, the case is a fairly standard mid-tower without fancy RGB lighting or a windowed side panel. It's functional and easy to work in, but if you're after a showcase piece with custom loops and glowing accents, you'll have to mod it yourself or look elsewhere. Connectivity is surprisingly modern. Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.0 mean you'll get a solid wireless signal even if your router is a bit farther away, and the USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port is a nice touch for fast external storage or future-proofing peripherals. The 3 DisplayPort 1.4a outputs and an HDMI 2.1 give you plenty of options for multi-monitor setups, which is handy if you want a dedicated streaming monitor or you're using your PC for both work and play. I ran a dual-monitor rig with a 1440p gaming display and a 4K productivity screen, and there was zero lag switching between them. Who should buy this? If you're a serious gamer who also streams or does light video editing, this machine hits the sweet spot between raw compute power and graphical capability without demanding a six-figure budget. It's also great for developers or content creators who need a lot of cores for compiling code or rendering, because the 7950X will handle parallel workloads gracefully. The included 2-year warranty and free tech support from Techno Intelligence add a layer of confidence if you're not comfortable troubleshooting hardware issues on your own. Who should skip it? If you're a pure 4K 120Hz enthusiast who wants the absolute top-tier graphics performance, you'll likely feel constrained by the RTX 3060 and might be better off waiting for a system with an RTX 4070 Ti or higher. Likewise, if you're a minimalist who prefers a compact, silent PC for a small apartment, the Legion T5's mid-tower chassis and typical fan noise levels might feel a bit too loud. And if you still rely heavily on disk-based media, the